In this podcast episode, Dr. Tara Swart, a renowned neuroscientist and a leading expert on manifestation, intuition, and the science of the mind-body connection, shares her deeply personal journey through grief, healing, and rediscovering the power of manifestation. Dr. Tara Swart opens up about the moment, roughly 10 months after losing her husband Robin, when she realized that true healing required going deep into the heart of her grief rather than avoiding it. Contrary to the common advice that people should move on quickly, she emphasizes that suppressing grief and pain can be detrimental. Instead, she shares how she consciously chose to face the full weight of her loss, feeling all the pain in order to genuinely heal. Reflecting on this painful time, Tara describes the vulnerability she felt while doing her first podcast appearances shortly after her loss. Nervous and uncertain, battling depression and loss of confidence. This experience of vulnerability underscores her philosophy that healing is an active, intentional process that demands self-acceptance, patience, and the right support system. She credits her friends and loved ones for providing the crucial emotional support without which she feels she might not have survived. This authentic sharing provides a lesson to listeners that grief is complex, and healing is often a nonlinear path that requires difficult emotional work, not avoidance. One of the most captivating parts of the conversation details how Dr. Swart began to receive what she interprets as signs from her late husband. These aren't casual coincidences, but deeply meaningful synchronicities that provided comfort and proof of an ongoing connection beyond physical death. From repeatedly encountering infinity symbols, a motif she had mentally associated with Robin before meeting him, to surprising moments like seeing his initials engraved on drinking glasses unexpectedly, these signs fueled her belief in the unseen bonds that link us to those we've lost. Tara recounts a particularly astonishing synchronicity where a friend of hers matched on a dating app with a man sharing her late husband's full name, Robin Bieber, a story she documented and can verify with evidence. This marked a turning point in her accepting that manifestation is not simply about wishful thinking, but about cultivating meaningful conversations with the universe and becoming attuned to subtle messages. She describes how her manifestation practice evolved from rigid rituals like journaling into more dynamic processes involving creativity, immersion in nature, and body-based expressions like chanting, dancing, and humming. Underlying this evolution is her integration of neuroscience with spiritual practices. She highlights how trauma and stored emotions influence the nervous system and bodily tissue, which is why movement-oriented therapies and creative expressions can unlock intuition and hidden wisdom that traditional talk therapy might not reach. This mind-body approach helps manifest not just abstract desires, but aligned and authentic outcomes rooted in deep emotional processing. Tara's unique contribution lies in how she frames intuition with rigor and scientific nuance. She distinguishes intuition from traditional sixth sense notions by explaining it as accumulated life wisdom stored not only in the brain but throughout the body, in the fascia, muscles, and cellular memory. This concept of embodied intuition means our deeper knowing arises from physical sensations and somatic patterns rather than only cognitive thought. For this reason, reconnecting with physicality through art, music, and movement is scientifically proven to heighten our access to intuition and unconscious insight. The podcast delves into how trauma, especially unresolved grief, can lock intuitive wisdom in the body, causing emotional blocks and limiting decision-making capacity. In contrast, practices like mindful breathwork, nature appreciation, and rhythmic physical activities stimulate neuroplasticity and release tension, thereby restoring the flow of intuition and opening us to signs from the external world or the inner subconscious. Dr. Swart underscores the evolutionary basis of this, noting that humans have always used art, dance, and ritual not as frivolous luxuries, but as vital survival tools for group cohesion, communication, and attuning to the environment. Dr. Swart offers guidance for both skeptics and believers on how to begin recognizing and working with signs in everyday life. She suggests choosing a personally meaningful symbol and meditating on it with emotional openness while asking for signs. This choice is important, she explains, because the sign must resonate on a deeper emotional level to truly pierce through our mental filters. For her, the infinity symbol and specific recurring numbers became anchor points, but others may choose feathers, buttons, or other physical markers. A key point she reiterates is that everyone's experience with signs is unique, and absence of detection doesn't mean they aren't present. Sometimes, signs manifest only when we are ready to perceive them. Neuroplasticity research informs her work here too. As one trains the brain to notice beauty and subtle cues in nature or daily life, the sensitivity to signs grows, training the brain's salience network to pay attention to meaningful details instead of habituating and filtering them out. Tara even guides listeners through a meditative sound exercise involving conscious breathwork and focused listening. This practice is designed to foster stillness and attunement to subtle frequencies both inside and outside oneself, cultivating a mind-body state primed to notice signals from the universe and one's own embodied intuition. Throughout the conversation, Dr. Swart highlights the indispensable value of having a trusted support network, especially during times of grief and transformation. Whether through friends, family, or chosen communities, feeling seen and supported nurtures resilience and deepens the capacity for intuitive connection. She also stresses the importance of self-compassion, patience, and internal emotional support in moments when external understanding is absent. Cultivating kindness towards oneself breaks patterns of negative self-judgment and opens the door to positive neuroplastic change. Moreover, when it comes to important life decisions, Tara advises balancing intuition with both personal reflection and input from trusted, honest advisors. While only you truly know your intuition, gathering perspectives can inform cautious risk-taking and prevent being trapped in indecision. She warns of the danger of remaining in limbo, without committing one way or another, and encourages trust in the ability to course-correct as one moves forward in life. For listeners curious about metaphysical questions, Dr. Swart discusses her investigation into ancestor communication across cultures and the emerging science behind synchronicities and signs from those who have passed. She notes that many ancient civilizations, such as the Greeks, Romans, Mayans, and Aboriginal Australians, have rich traditions of ancestor reverence and believe their presence continues in forms like nature's creatures or symbolic appearances. Her own direct experience with signs from her deceased husband has emboldened her to explore this realm beyond strict scientific skepticism, encouraging others to remain open-minded and try asking for signs from the universe or departed loved ones themselves. Through thousands of messages from listeners and supporters, including skeptics who experienced surprising confirmations, she advocates practical experimentation as a doorway to expanding one's worldview without risk. Closing on an optimistic and empowering note, Dr. Swart explains that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, is the foundation behind all transformation, including grief recovery, manifesting abundance, and accessing intuition. She urges embracing repetition, emotional intensity, and mindfulness to reinforce new, empowering neural pathways. Importantly, she reminds listeners that change can be accelerated simply by exposure to nurturing environments, learning, and expanding perspectives, such as the one fostered by this podcast and related communities. In practical terms, she encourages identifying small but strategic shifts, habits, thought patterns, or emotional approaches that can be consistently practiced post-listening to reinforce growth and new beliefs. Manifestation, intuition, and healing are processes that thrive in this fertile neurological soil.